Hi, I'm Tina Warren, and the reason for this video is to talk about what happens when and what it means when spirit connect to us in dreams. Um, Through the years that I've been doing this work and the years that I've been working as a medium, um, I've come across lots and lots of people. In fact, it's extremely common for people to experience contact with spirit loved ones in dream states. So when they're asleep, or just before they're falling asleep, or just after they're waking from sleep. So it's one of the reasons for experiencing spirit in this way is because it's much easier for them to connect to us. Because our minds are working differently when we're asleep. Our brain waves change, things are very, very different. And just as we're falling into sleep, if you've have ever had an experience as you're falling into sleep where you hear a voice, or you may feel that you experience something. It may be someone sitting on the bed, it may be that you already think you're asleep and you jump in your dream because you've seen something or experienced something. This is referred to as a hypnagogic hallucination. But it's actually when our minds are in between, when they're moving from a very conscious, aware state into a deeper state that we go into and out of throughout the sleep cycle. Another time where we're at this very in between stage is when just before we wake up. And quite often people will experience seeing things at this point. They may experience seeing a loved one standing in their room or at their side, or they may have an overwhelming feeling of it and sort of be able to make an outline out or see something. But when they consciously focus, then actually that image disappears and they talk themselves out of it and say, "Oh, I didn't see anything, but I thought I did." And more often than not, you did. Spirit is not separate from us, and there is a connection, especially anyone that we've formed connections with in our physical world, we will connect to, that connection will remain in spirit. Um, it's not that people who you don't like or people you've fallen out with or anything are forcing themselves on you or anything like that. It doesn't work like that. But we do, and every one of us will go through an experience of loss, of losing someone at some point throughout our lives. We are a physical body, and what animates that physical body is the life force, or the energy, or the spirit, or the soul. So together, when they are together, and the mind as well, that plays a part too, because that's where we process our perceptions. Um, but when we are living, we are spirit and physical together with the mind. And when our body is no longer able to sustain life for whatever reason, and there are a variety of reasons for that, but for whatever reason, then the spirit and the body separate. So, and the body is no longer useful, but the spirit still exists. And the connection, to be able to connect to spirit, it's through the emotion of love, in my experience. And all that I can ever share is my experience. When we're around somebody, when we become familiar with somebody, especially with our children, animals, and things like that, we get used to the way they feel, their energy. We recognize them by their energy, um, rather than by what we're seeing. So if you consider that your child has walked in from school and you feel that there's something wrong and they throw their bag down, and you would feel that energy rather than see that energy, and you would go and sort of ask if everything was okay with your child. again, if someone walked into your house and was extremely happy or very excited, you would feel that energy. You would feel that energy. Or if you like me, and there have been times in my life where I walked into a handover one morning when I was working as a nurse. I walked into handover and it was like I just went, "Who's died?" Um, but someone had. So it's feeling we feel things. So often people will say they had a feeling that their loved one visited them in a dream. And I've been asked a question recently about somebody that's lost a child and has felt the child appear to them in the dream, but they seem bigger in the dream. They also experienced another a lost relative in that dream, and they were able to see that person, although not able to hear what was being said. So when you have dreams with spirit, when spirit visit you in your dreams or communicate when you're in that dream state, it first and fundamentally feels very, very different. These dreams are dreams that you will tend to remember and recall for years and years, whereas other dreams tend to dissipate quite quickly after we wake up. So there's a significance in that. If you have experienced these dreams, you're able to often recall a lot of detail. So if you do experience these dreams, pay attention to things that are shown to you in the dream. It may be that the environment, what's the environment like? There may be symbols, there may be colours, there may be things that you're sensing through the taste, through smell, or hear through these dreams as well. All aspects of the dream are significant. So try and recall as much of what's going on around the person as much as what's going on with the person. Quite often people are very focused on that. So by feeling and recognizing, I'm going back to the question, but by recognizing the energy of your child, it's the reassurance that it was your child. The By feeling them bigger or larger than they were here is actually a sign that they've come through in their true essence, their energy form, which is much bigger than our physical body, much bigger than our physical body. And everything that has life, that has life flowing through it, has an energy. And well, everything is energy. It has its own energy um, field, its own energy imprint. So whether that's a human being, whether that's an animal, whether that's a plant, whether it's anything, it's got its own energy field. And we perceive things very much through our experience in the physical world. So at the time, he was coming to you in perfection. So if you were experiencing him at his biggest, he was showing or coming to you in a way that you may not physically recognize as him, but you could feel as him. So if you saw him, you may not recognize it was him, but you would recognize it was him from the way that he felt, because his energy is the same, just slightly more encompassing and expanded. So if you are feeling that someone is there in spirit but not able to see them, it's because quite often they will come in a way that you wouldn't recognize them otherwise. And quite often feeling them around is something that's important. Um, we don't often hear the words, and sometimes that's because physically and when we're not asleep, we are processing grief. We are going through our own experience of the change that that brings to us. So if there is a time where you're not hearing or not understanding what's being said, it could just be that your grief is blocking certain things. And grief changes over time. You don't, I don't think you ever get over substantial losses, but your life changes. Your life changes, and over a period of time, you learn to live with that. My own experience of grief is probably a little bit different to other people's. But we will all have our own experience. It doesn't mean that anyone's experience is uh, worse or better or anything else. We will all go through our own experience of grief, and it will last as long as it lasts. It brings a fundamental change. So, it brings a change, and things will never be the way they were before. And quite often, people expect to be feeling the way they were before or understanding things in the way they were before. But when things have changed so much, that's not possible. So it becomes something that you learn to encompass into your life. Um, Spirit is always much closer than we realise, and through working with spirit and through my own experience, I've worked with a lot of parents that have lost children, um, and to be able to bring that connection through is something that I'm very honoured to do. I'm more honoured in the way that I've been able to work with some of the parents, with some parents, and enabled them to form that reconnection for themselves. Because that is something that we can do. It just takes a willingness and an awareness to be able to do that. But yes, spirit will often come to us in dreams, often as a reassurance, often as a way of letting you know that they are still around, and often a way of comforting as well. So the spirit will always come through in dreams in the way that they do, because, as I said, we're not so tied up with the emotional day-to-day things and the focus of our normal reality. So when we are more open to accessing that information, it's much easier for them to communicate with us. If you look at it more as your physical body is sort of deanimated, it's resting, it's recuperating, your body is just asleep. Then the bigger aspect of you, that soul and spirit aspect of you, that life force aspect of you, is much easier able to communicate with spirit. So it just is easier when you are asleep. It's not the only time spirit will communicate, and there are many, many ways that spirit are able to communicate. But the purpose of this video was really to talk about um, spirit coming through in dreams, and in particular in response to that question regarding feeling someone feeling their child around them but not being able to see them, and not quite understanding why they felt bigger in the dream than they did when they were here. So there you go. If you've got any questions about mediumship, spirit, spirituality, or working with spirit, they are very different things. About healing or about your intuition, if you've got any questions, please either comment below or you can contact me on the details in the description box, which is info@tinawarrenintuitive.com. I'd be happy to answer your questions and through that share some of my experiences. And if someone finds comfort in that at some level, then I've done what I need to do. So if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you are coming across me for the first time, I am Tina Warren. I'm an intuitive pathfinder, which means I use my intuition and all of who I am to help you find that way forward for you. So that's that. If you would like to subscribe, please do. I don't know if I've already just said that, but thank you for your time and thank you very much for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. Sending lots of love to you, and I'll see you again very soon. Take care. Bye.